always been brought up as a normal-sized person, and I feel inside me that I am normal size. I know I'm not to look at, but I feel normal inside. Exactly the same as anybody else, the same feelings.
Well, it's psychologically that you've got to adjust yourself to be small. You live in what I term as an oversized world.
We can compete with all you giants, grown-up people, and we're expected to. We mustn't fall short. In fact, we've got to give a better account of ourselves than the ordinary people have to.
If you see a hippie walk down the street, you know, with a load of way-out gear on, I mean, even I'd turn my head, but I see what I thought plenty of people who are more freakish than I am today, you know.
Not quite 4 foot, but I couldn't count the times of the day I wish I was another foot, just another foot to give me that little bit extra height.
When I was quite young, me being so small, you were just something that was different, an oddity. I could go out now and I'm just one, where before you knew everybody was looking at you. The world itself is different today.
And one little girl said to her mummy, "Look at that mini man." Now, to me, that doesn't hurt me, because it's from a child. But when it gets from normal people that can understand and realise what they're saying, then it starts to hurt me.
In general, though, people are very friendly, really. But they just don't know how to be friendly. Like, they'll come up and they'll pat me on the head, which is one thing I can't stand, being patted on the head, you know. You know, if supposing you were walking down the street and somebody came and patted you on the head, you'd feel like a right idiot, wouldn't you?
Apart from serious illness or injury, there are 2 principal causes of small stature. One is the failure in growth of long bones, the legs, arms, and some parts of the skull. This is a genetic mutation which suddenly happens out of the blue, and the person who is affected stands about a 50-50 chance of passing it on. If he produces a normal child, the chances of that child passing it on are the same as for anyone else, about 1 in 10,000. Then there's the deficiency of the pituitary gland. This produces small but normally proportioned people, but medical knowledge is still very incomplete. No one really knows how many people of small stature there are.
I don't think height came into it, really. We were just 2 normal people who'd met, fallen in love and wanted to get married. So that's what we did.
Eileen wanted a child, and I'd never really thought about it seriously. And I thought, well, why not? Some of the doctors said that it might be not advisable for Eileen to have one in the first place, and secondly, that it might be a small baby like ourselves, you know.
I had a feeling that it was a boy, and I was pretty sure that he was normal. I don't know why, I just, you know, just had these feelings.
Christopher John, I baptize you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
We weren't really worried, were we?
No, that didn't bother us.
And I think we just wanted one, you know, both of us.
But we've got a perfectly normal baby.
Receive the light of Christ. Parents and godparents, this light is entrusted to you to be kept burning brightly. This child of yours has been enlightened by Christ. He is to walk always as a child of light.
Speech.
Yes.
Come on, Ken.
Speech. Right. Have a toast to our new baby, who we're both very proud of, aren't we? Marvellous. And also, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. It's been a smashing day. And We'll have to do it again sometime.
3.
I work in the post office, counter clerk in the post office, yes, and I love that.
That's it, thanks.
62 and a half. Hello, Neil. I did just know that when I was young and that I wouldn't be more than 3 foot, or just over 3 foot, and I think that's why I was prepared to accept it, you see, because I knew. Sorry, I'm with you now, yeah.
Thanks. And thanks for your taste, Sam.
Of course, I am absolutely lost without my bicycle. I mean, that is my main thing. I go everywhere on it. It keeps me fit, and I think it keeps the weight down. And because it's been my whole life to get on a bus, it was an awful job. But rather than ask anyone to help me up, I would walk a long, long way, which just exhausted one. But these days, of course, one doesn't have to do that. You say, oh, give us a hand up, chum, or you scramble up and nobody takes any notice. Now, I can make more joke of it, whatever I do. On one occasion, I had to go in hospital through an accident on the bike. The surgeon there said to my mother, do you know, she could have lovely children, and they wouldn't be like her. And I thought, oh, there's me, and yet there's so many others need them, and they just can't. You know, so that's where life is hard, isn't it? I think so. Forgive me for gabbling on like this, but I realise how lucky I am, that I can do everything I want, independently. I have wonderful health, and that is the main thing, isn't it? I can get around, I've got a good, strong pair of hands, wonderful eyesight. I enjoy every minute I live. And when, as folk will say, or a friend of mine will say, of course, Peter, you're contented, which I am. The happiest person in the world, to put it quite honest.
I remember years ago that when I first saw my image for the first time, it was a great shake for me. I was a child. I was about 8 or 9, and I was playing in the street with some friends, and we saw this funny little man walking towards us, and he was dressed as a city bank clerk, you know. He had a black bowler hat, a black jacket, a pair of black and white, or black and grey pinstripe trousers, and he was carrying a rolled umbrella as big as himself. And we all rushed up to this funny little man and started calling him funny little man, calling him names, you know, as children would. And my pal, well, one of my friends, turned around and said to me, look, Roy, he's just like you. Well, when he said that, I realised in a flash what I was going to be like, or what I was like. And it hit me hard. I just couldn't take it. I just raced home and I stopped indoors for a couple of days. At the moment, I'm employed as a service mechanic for a firm which manufactures hearing aids. And overall, I found that I like doing it. People are inclined to regard you when they see you for the first time as a clown or as an acrobat. We seem to be something out of touch. You never see us in solicitors' offices as solicitors, or you won't see us as judges, or you won't see us as soldiers, obviously, or you won't see us in shops serving behind counters. And I understand it in a way, because I don't think there's anything more upsetting than a person going into a shop and suddenly finds themselves being served by somebody like me, which makes it, from their point of view, rather upsetting. And I think that those people don't always know how to handle us. You will get people who will for everlastingly remind you of being what you are, small and odd. They remark upon you about being short and fat and stunted, things like that, you know. They will refer to you as a dwarf. Well, being a dwarf, you are a dwarf, and that's all there is to it. That is true. Although I'm small, I'm not really that small, not like some people are. I mean, say you get people who are only 2 to 3 feet in height. Well, I'm 4'4", so I get by comfortably.
Well, if you get people staring at you, you know, I feel like going up to them and saying, have you looked at yourself lately in the mirror? Have you had a full-length look at yourself? Things, of course, are much easier in London than they are when you go out, or if you go abroad. But once people have seen you, got used to you, it's all right. I always wanted to be an actress. I believe ever since I was 5. Got to do a bit of limbering up, I suppose, before I go on. Get a bit stiff now and again. Ooh. Ooh. I think dwarfs, on the whole, resent midgets. I don't know why. Maybe because midgets don't get quite stared at so much and looked at so much as dwarfs do. And funnily enough, dwarfs tend to marry normal-sized women. Well, midgets do too, but it doesn't look so incongruous. Walking along the street, a little lady being with a tall man. But a little man with a tall lady, everybody stares. I mean, I just can't see a reason at all. I know, perhaps dwarfs may be, because they are a little misshapen. It's understandable, ignorant people would look and laugh. But if somebody that's absolutely perfect, apart from being small, why do they do this thing? Is it because they're nervous? Is it a psychological reason, or is it something that they don't know about? You know, and then they class you all together. And they think, if you're walking along with somebody that is small, must be your sister, or your mother, or your brother. Must be. And that's ridiculous. My father was 6'2", my mother's normal size. My sisters and my brother, all my nephews and niece are quite tall, quite normal. I'm the only small one in the family. But you've only got to walk along with a small person, or else they say, just saw your sister the other day. I said, oh, did you really? Oh, yes. That little lady lives round the corner. I said, my sister's 5'4", 5'5". Oh, you know, they just think you've got to be small. You've just all got to be small. You've all got to love one another, which is ridiculous, because we're just the same as anybody else. We have our likes, our dislikes. I might not like a small person because I don't like them, not because they're small, because I don't like them. I might not like a big person because I don't like them. But it's this lumping together which gets me, all under one name, and you all must be the same.
In my mind, I always want to be normal. And I think with being small, people won't let you be normal. If you get a girl to go out with you, and she likes you for what you are, she has very difficulty in overcoming her friends. Because I think her friends do a bit of backbiting, saying they would never go out with him because he's too small. And that if you did, if you had a family, all your children would be the same. People say to their friends and mates, oh, look at this little dwarf coming with this woman. I wonder what she's like when she's with him in bed. And things like that. I wonder how she feels when she's about with him. And it looks rather odd, and they start laughing. And then you have to overcome the family. Myself, well, I tried it twice, and I overcame it. And I had, on 2 occasions when I had it, I was told that if I went out with their daughter again, I would have the law set on me. And that, I think, it hurts you very much. I said I would not have any family. And so I went to hospital to be sterilised. It is a big problem, that, because it also doesn't hit yourself, it hits the wife. It hits your in-laws as well. I try to cover up a lot of the way I feel, because I don't think that if I told people where I feel, they wouldn't understand. And I think if you go around the way you feel, looking miserable, because you are miserable inside, they don't want to know you. They don't understand you. You can only feel what a person feels if you've got what he's got. If you're small, you can feel he's small. But if you haven't got those things, then I don't think you can feel what he feels.
Well, my heart's never bothered me, and never really thought about it. You know, I'm me, and that's it. I run a property company, investments, and I can pay my way. I can keep my wife and my 2 children, and I'm very grateful for this fact. People pretty well treat me as normal. You can be a nature that's very timid and go into a shell, but thank God that I've got a nature and probably, you know, was brought up by my parents to, you know, overcome these things in life.
Well, when out in public with John, I don't feel self-conscious at all. Perhaps I did when we were first married, I felt it more. But I'm so fond of John that he means so much to me that as he has taken it so naturally, I take him so naturally. As John's already said, there are so many oddities walking around our streets today that he's very little of an oddity, really. And John is 6 foot tall in my eyes.
I have a very, very deep personal belief in God. God is part of my life, my faith. You know, I don't just believe it, but I live it every day. Both our children are unaffected by any disability, and they're just perfectly normal in every way.
Joy, she's 3 now, and she's a very loving child. She's very proud of her daddy, but she doesn't look as John as the oddity, perhaps as other very tall men as an oddity.
I'd like to think that life, when I come to the end of my life, I like to say, well, life didn't defeat him. We had his limitations, like all of us. But, you know, he had to go.
I always wanted to be a physician. I did a lot of children's work, which I suppose, you know, I had rather a lot in common with children, you know. Generally speaking, children quite like me, probably because I'm near their size, and you know, I like children, and you know, it sort of works the other way as well. It's difficult to know when I first realized I was going to be small. Couldn't really put a date on it. I should think perhaps when I was about 7 or 8, I might have noticed it then. Well, quite honestly, it's never seemed like a problem, not to a major extent.
Thank you.
How do you feel about having 3 boys?
Oh, I'm delighted. I also might be disappointed, but I'm delighted.
I like, or I hope, that people think of me as a doctor, you know, who is otherwise normal, you know, rather than a small person and, you know, a courier. Hello, Molly.
Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Mr. Shakespeare.
A sherry, what sort of? Medium sherry and a pint of
your usual.
Please. One thing that bothered me was my relations with the opposite sex. I wanted to find one that would be prepared to marry me for myself, you know. At the same time, I didn't want to put any girl in the sort of embarrassing position, you know, of sort of having to reject me for one reason or another. A lot of my present position and normal existence in a normal environment are due to her.
Obviously, there was a certain amount of opposition to begin with, but once the decision was made, I don't think there were any doubts.
How about you for me? I knew there was about a 50% chance of any child that we might have of being affected with this condition. But I felt that I knew most of the problems, and my wife, through me, had known a lot of the problems that I had to face, and we would be a fairly ideal situation to bring up children should they be affected.
I felt that it was perhaps not quite right morally to produce children that one knew might be abnormal. But for myself, it didn't worry me at all.
What's the matter? What's the matter?
Our second child is perfectly normal, and I suppose there will be some problems. Fortunately, we're very lucky in that we ourselves have had a good education, and Thomas too will do likewise. And he's lucky in that he has his father, for example. And so I suppose we won't have as many problems as people who are less fortunate socially. But the fact that James, our second child, is normal, I suppose there might be problems here, but I think, you know, we shall probably sort it out as we get to it.
Being small, I think the sooner you can face what you are, then you'll grow to accept it. You're not everybody's cup of tea, but then neither is a normal-sized person. Not everybody gets on with everybody else. And if you're pleasant enough, well, you'll appeal to someone, I hope.
As George says, it doesn't matter on the size. I'm small, I was put on this earth small, and I've got to live small. I go along as happy as I think a normal person would go along. Oh, well, I'll take the shot in now.
By the time we finish this game, we have lost 2 inches.
You're right there.
Let's see you shoot that off.
Where would you like this? In the plug
Over
right
there. I think you'll make it this time. Ow! Crash. Chinkle, chinkle, chinkle.
Hello.
Sounded good.
You all right? A bit of practice here, a bit of practice. How is he? Is he all right?
He's fine.
Does he sleep? None of our parents are small, you see. All our relatives are normal-sized people. You know, such as Arlene's brother's about 6'4", isn't he?
Yeah.
And his sister's is 5'8" or something, 5 foot.
They're all about 5'6",
very tall,
5'7".
anyway.
So, I mean, if this is the thing, that, you know, that because we're little, we're going to have little children.
Doesn't always.
Why then did our parents have us?
Strange. I'm walking down, I've forgotten the name of the road now, and there's a policeman with his dog. And it's hot day, you know, it's in the middle of summer nearly, and the dog's lying on the pavement, half asleep. And I'm on the opposite side of the road, walking down the pavement. And suddenly this dog, he's like this on the pavement. And he opened one eye and looked at me. And then he opened the other eye and had another look. And then one ear went up in the air, and then the other ear went up in the air. And then he gradually sat up on his front legs. And he followed me all the way down the street like this. Until I'd gone round the corner. Strange, isn't it? Dogs. They seem to know that we're different in some reason. I don't know what it is. Some people think that all little people are able to do is get a custard pie in the face and fall flat on their backsides, and that's all they're capable of doing, you know. Some of them think we're a bit below them, and then other people are overwhelming all the time. They want to help us too much, you know. They want to lift us onto a bus or show me across. A lot of people want to show me across the road, across zebra crossings and things, you know. And they only want to help, but sometimes they don't know how to help. Oh, you know, they try too hard, I think. Mind you, then again, if no one took any notice at all, I'd lose some of the magic, I suppose, of being in show business.
how pleased we are to see all our old friends and a great number of new ones.
One of the big problems of being short, of course, is the clothing aspect. You can get things made, but it has its difficulties. You can go to shops and buy miniskirts and blouses, but for dresses it's very difficult.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Valerie, who is in her own bridal gown. This dress was made by her own dressmaker. The train is detachable, and I'm sure it's really beautiful. And we all wish Valerie a long and happy life.
Well, Dad always treated us as one person. That he didn't really know what to do about it. I don't think he thought we were more than 6 years old, and he treated us like it. And we always had to have one thing of whatever it was going. If it was an orange, it was half each. If it was a bag of crisps, it was only one bag of crisps. If it was a cup of tea, it was only one cup of tea. And if anyone offered us a drink, he'd always say, have a lemonade, my girlies. Or a tangerine. Or a tangerine. And, well, altogether, he didn't really... and yet he called us little gems. I mean, he knew, when we used to say we'd like to learn ice skating, he'd say, far better to be a good cook, my darlings. And so that was all he really wanted. He never wanted us to go outside the house, really, all the time we were small, all the time we were young. And, we don't like going shopping together because we cause a lot of interest. So we hardly ever go shopping together, not in our local. But if we go out socially together, like in the tube, I mean, we know all about how interested everybody is there. And they say some dreadful things. Well, they make very, very nasty insinuations. Obnoxious remarks. Yes, you know. They are obnoxious people. And if we said anything to people about it, they would say that we were either looking for somebody, or wanting it, or that we were or we were frustrated, or looking for it, or so. But we don't have to look for it. We can get it sent to us all over the place. Oh, I couldn't tell you what they say. It's really terrible, straight to the point. And as I say, if we said it to anybody, they would say it was us concocting it. And it's always nice people that say it. I mean, it's not any but rough and ready that you'd think, oh, you know, that's the limit of their mentality. But these are people that have got positions in the world. Oh, well, not vicars, but people that have got a good standing then, haven't they? I mean, people that they wouldn't disbelieve them in preference to us. In fact, they wouldn't believe us. They wouldn't really believe us.
Next is Susan, who is wearing a black corded velvet skirt